There we go. I couldn't find my blue pencil lid, which I use all the time. I'm going to have to order some more. It's the simplest thing. Well, today I just wanted to, with the holiday coming up, just do an easy stream tonight and just do some of my sketching exercises and talk about like a modified version of like the Loomis method that I use for. Oops, that went in the wrong one. Now I've got my blue lead mixed with my gray lead. That's great. Starting off strong. Strong to very strong. Hope everybody's having a good evening. But yeah, I've had a few people reach out to me on Twitter and on other social media platforms and really just ask me general questions about drawing. And, I thought this would be a good opportunity to go into that. And yeah, just take it easy tonight. I had some dental work done today, so my jaw's a little sore. I just want to put some things down on paper. I also had to do a fair amount of graphic design today, so my drawings are going to knock a little rust off, which will be good. All right. Now that I've thoroughly messed that up, normally I do all this beforehand, so I look slightly less amateurish. But hey, Andrew. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Good to see you. Any big Thanksgiving plans? You gonna? I don't know. I don't know if you have any Thanksgiving rituals or regular things that you do. All appetizers all day. That's solid. I think that's a good way to do it right there. I'll catch the MST3K marathon. They got the Planet of the Apes marathon going on Comet, I think, one of the channels. Come on, pencil. What are you doing? Must have gotten jammed. Eventually you get to a point where you've taken these things apart so many times that you know how to generally fix them. I've actually rebuilt this pencil a couple of times. Hey Jay, going over to your folks for Thanksgiving? Come on. There we go. All right. Just to keep it simple, I'll start with the felt tip pen, if one of them works. Right now, this is the horizon line, which for people who, when you're looking off into the distance, you see where everything disappears. This is our horizon line, and this right here is a vanishing point. This right here is also a vanishing point. Now let's say we're going to draw a character somewhere on this paper. And one way that, if you see on old comic book pages, you can sometimes look real close and see where the artist actually drew a grid. And all of the lines, if you think about a tile floor, what you're doing is establishing the perspective. And this is 2-point perspective, so we're going real simple here. Now what this means is that this is the ground. This is where their feet stand. This is where, gravity comes from, all that good stuff. Now let's say we want to draw a figure here. Let's start right here. Let's just draw a vertical line. This is how tall, let's make him our character is. Draw the head. Now, in order to keep it in perspective, we use our vanishing points. Everything connects to the vanishing point. And this is actually the same thing that was done in How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Also in Will Eisner's Graphic Storytelling and Visual Narrative. Right about here is our hip. Our shoulders are actually going to be, because it's above the horizon line, this way. And then to create our 3-dimensional shape, like right where this shoulder is, it's one of the reasons I use what I call the tubes and cubes method. It's because I can visualize a cube a lot more easily than a shoulder. Now, what does that mean? That means that these lines that connect from the vanishing point, when I'm looking at this shoulder, then they come from over here, over there. And I use a cube to represent that. And you can see the 3-dimensional shape coming up from. And this is something that I have sort of abbreviated in my head. And I've gotten used to doing. And that's something that, because I do it so often, all of these lines connect to the 2 vanishing points. And we're just doing a real simple perspective drill here, okay? So that's how wide the shoulders are. Top of the head's going to be even more tilted than we think it is. Base of the skull. It's actually going to be a little bit more. Jaw comes down. And I'm just using simple cubes at this point, because this is just so that, generally you don't draw this stuff out when you're drawing a figure. But this is what I'm thinking. This is what's going through my head as I'm drawing these things. And one of the things that I see a lot of young artists do that is a very common mistake is they're thinking too much about how the things are connected. They're thinking how this shoulder has to be attached to this shoulder. Well, you don't realize that this shoulder, when you're drawing it, look how much bigger this cube is than this one. It's 40% larger. So you're really drawing two separate pieces that function as a team. That's kind of, a way to think about it. Okay. Now I'm just going to simply connect the shoulder with a simple trap muscle. Like they basically connect at the base of the neck. Here's right about where the middle of the spine is. Okay, and then we come from here and we're going to draw our hips. I'm going to do a sphere for this just because it's easier for me. Okay, like let's go and draw our spine, which is not a straight line, so we curve it a little bit and we connect those hips right on the horizon line almost. Slightly different. Okay. Now let's just do the stick figure. See, I'm staying on this line right here. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Jason. I'm just doing a quick perspective drawing lesson here. That's what we're doing. Because I was asked about it on YouTube by a couple of young artists, and I figured we would just do it tonight. Why not? I don't have a I don't have a pre-done drawing, and I don't have drawings that I can show. Elbow here, elbow there. Hand here, and there. Now my proportions aren't perfect. Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody that popped in. I'm sure everyone's brining turkeys or smoking turkeys or, I don't know, getting stuff ready for tomorrow. Maybe making some pies for tomorrow. We got any bakers in the audience? I'm going to bake some cornbread tomorrow, but I'll get up and do that in the morning. But this here, I'm just filling in based on, here's where the tubes come in. For an arm, that's a tube. Just a simple, think of like a paper towel tube. Now, is this 100% realistic? No, but I generally talk about drawing comic books, and they don't have to be 100% realistic. They can be exaggerated. They can be all kinds of things. I'll do a real simple perspective so that you can see it. Right now I'm just filling in these tubes, connecting where those elbows were into the base of the hand. My proportions are a little off, but that's okay. I'm just roughing them in, and this is really just to show a figure standing in perspective. Got our hip bones. Cooking the bird and all the fixins. Nice. I know you like to do some baking, Jonathan. You do the big cookie bakes in the winter time. Now there are some things about drawing a figure in perspective that are not intuitive. Okay, like it's very easy to think in your brain that this arm and this arm are the same length, but if you look at it, when you're drawing them in perspective, they're not. Okay, because it's further away, it's smaller. As things are further away, they are smaller and smaller and smaller. this foot, smaller than this foot, or tubes. And there you go. That is just a rough figure in perspective. Real quick and dirty. You can give them like a baseball hat. Everybody likes baseball hats. No, not everyone, but I do. So, but yeah, really simple, really easy way to do it. And that's why I call it like the tubes and cubes method. Like, you know, if I wanted to go in and just based on, you know, my experience, there's going to be some overlapping, you know, you add some musculature, and this is stuff that you just study and learn. You know, I mentioned the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. That's John Buscema used the Loomis method quite a bit. You know, you smooth off the shoulders, you add the shoulder blade, back muscles, glutes, underneath, hip muscle. There you go. There's a guy with a hat. Let's give him a shirt. Just real quick, you know, if you were to draw like a mailbox, you know, your classic mailbox, you have the main line that is the post. And this is just 2-point perspective. It takes a lot of practice, you know, and you know, when I'm talking, when I was working on the Conan piece, I know that I can get ahead of myself. You know, I tend to. It's easy to assume that, you know, everyone knows what I know rather than explaining what I know. So if I get ahead of things, just stop me, and you know, I will try to do a better job of explaining. Right here, you can, because this is above the horizon line, you're going to see underneath it. So you see underneath it like that. Got an arc, connect, got an arc, put the little flag on top. You know, there's a generic mailbox. Okay, now how does that relate to drawing characters and all this other stuff? Like, obviously we can imagine what the figure is going to do, but how does it work for faces? How does it work for other things? It just adds a new dimension to what people are able to do. So this is just regular bond paper. It's nothing fancy or interesting. That'll get thrown out. But what I like to do, I did one of these not that long ago where we just worked on drawing faces and such. Now, if I'm drawing a face in perspective, I do dabble, and I had to follow the Bruce Timm style guide. I did a Batman animated cover when they teamed up with the Ninja Turtles. So in that case, you really have to simplify and pull things way back. And then the exaggerations on how, you know, tapered lines work with one another, and he uses a brush. So like, you know, when things get thick and thin and then they meet a thin line, you know, different dynamic ways to do breaks, you know, and tapered smooth lines, you know. I don't have a steady hand, so I either have to go really slow, which deadens the line, or I have to go really fast that makes the line highly inaccurate. Okay, so we're going to look at, here's our horizon line, And this is going to be a 1-point perspective. Really simple. So what that means is the line where the eyes are at an angle, line where the nose is at an angle, and the mouth, and then all these shapes, they're all geometric shapes. So, one eye will be something like this, because they're spheres. And then the mouth is actually going to be at an angle going this way, and then the chin's going this way. But the top of the head is going this way. Like that. But it all starts with really simple shapes, and just learning how they connect. Like when I was talking earlier about pieces connecting, you think about a hand, and it shows each one of these segments is a tube, and then the main part, like the meaty part of the hand, is a cube, at least for me when I'm thinking about drawing it. So that way, when I'm drawing like the meaty part of the hand, I can draw it at different angles, and I can see, like for this one, our vanishing point's way over here. And I'll show you when okay, so this is actually these 3 squares here. These are 3 different hands. And what I do in these sort of cases when I'm studying these, or when I, like, imagine, because you got to do everything. It's like there's so much character, and then you got to do everything with the hands. And how many fingers have we got? We got 4 fingers and a thumb. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here, vanishing points over here, like way over here. Let's cut the hand in half. We're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you look at your hand also, they're not straight across. So like if I have a straight line here, so we're going to round that out. Or round it out a little bit. Okay. Now, if we're going to draw, we got to have our thumb. And if you look at your hand, your thumb, the meaty part of your thumb, it's just a little bit shorter than this side. So it's like if you took this one, turned it, and shrank it a little bit. So we look at the length of this part of the hand, turn it, and then shrink it a little bit. That's how big the meaty thumb part is. At this side, turn it, there's the thumb. Turn it, thumb. Okay. And then you can just draw single lines to start your hands, and you can already see where those hands are. Now this one is a little, and this one here, they're tricky because you have what's called foreshortening, and that's when something looks like it's coming towards or away from the camera. So when that happens, you have to picture, remember those vanishing points, you have to picture vanishing point, one of those tubes that we were just talking about. When it's closer to you, it's bigger. When it's closer to the vanishing point or further away, it's smaller. So as it goes away, it's actually smaller. I forgot to draw little lines there for the fingers. Okay. Now let's start real simple. Okay, let's just get the meaty part of our hand. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 5, where we drew that meaty part of the hand, we're going to have that be a circle too. I'm going to do that for each of these. And you can do this with even more simplified. Like you can always simplify even further. If you look at how Sergio Aragonés drew hands, like he drew like little hands like this. You know, if you look at Gru. Circle, 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 circle. And this all comes from practice, so, okay. Now our thumb has 1, 2 segments. So we're gonna go 1, 2. And they're tubes, just like I was talking about, tubes. These are the little knuckles, the little segments of the finger. Okay. And then all the rest of the fingers have 3 segments. All right, well, there's really just 3 simple hands all going in different directions. Yes, chef, yeah, yep, that's me. Super demanding doodle teacher. I had some really good experiences going to schools and talking to kids about drawing, you know. I do find, and look, this is just probably the age of the folks I was with. There was far more enthusiasm than focus, but like when you're just getting started, building up that fire to get you going, to go through all the hard years of learning this stuff is really important. So it's one of those really important things. I would be interested to see what it would be like with a more advanced class and even a simpler class, just like the first time people are really drawing. Yeah. You can kind of see through that, so we'll just give it a piece. I'm going to just draw some characters, and before I do that, I'll show you the book that I was just in this week. Pretty cool. This is the Charlton Companion from Tomorrow's Publishing, and it has a large compilation of all sorts of interviews and artwork and history of Charlton Comics, which was a small publisher in the history of comics, but they had a bunch of characters that people have heard of, like Blue Beetle and Tarzan, and all kinds of licensed stuff. Yeah, $1 Million Man. Guys like John Byrne, Mike Zeck, Joe Staten all got their starts there. But yeah, here was the piece that I did. Yeah, I drew it for fun because obviously I'm a big Charlton fan. And then the publisher saw it online and reached out to me to see if they could put it in the book, and they did. And like to prove that I just have stacks of Charlton comics, and yeah, all sorts of good stuff, horror stuff, mystery stuff, superhero stuff. But if you want to learn about a really quirky, interesting company that, basically when it closed, DC bought all the characters, the superhero characters, in a parking lot. And then like artwork was dumped into the back of trucks and all sorts of things. So, but I'm just gonna have some fun drawing just making up characters on the fly, because that's what I like to do. When I'm sitting there sketching, waiting for the car repairs, or like today in the dentist office, I just have a little sketch pad and I get to work on drawing characters. Now this person, it's going to be an older character, so let's soften it a little bit. Let's go with like a broken nose. I actually like to keep these, so let's get a nicer piece of paper. It's just a piece of Bristol. Oh, and I will also show you this. This is the reason I didn't get that next page done is I have a giant 2-page spread I've been working on for Helena, with like all the characters fighting a bunch of forest monster type folks. But yeah, this is the layout. And what I'll do is I will put a new board over it, lightbox it, and then it'll be clean, and you'll get all the monsters, and get Helena and Saga, Jata, and all the new hunters, fighting these, monster types. It took me a couple days just to get the layout right. I wasn't working it continuously, but it was just, I don't have the luxury of just working on my own projects. So, all right. So let's get to our character sheet. Honestly, I just have so much fun coming up with characters. Like if I could get a job doing that, that would be interesting, and a thing that I would probably just have so much fun doing. Like I said, this is going to be an older gentleman. I'm going to do a 3/4 view just because what happened to the Charlton documentary. Jonathan, there's actually an interview with the people who kickstarted that documentary. Now they claim they're still working on it, and that COVID slowed them down, which entirely plausible. It slowed a lot of us down and affected a lot of folks, but who knows if it'll ever come out. I do know that they have posted some clips from the incredible interviews that they have, and I hope that if they decide not to finish the movie, that they'll at least release the interviews, so that some of, like, they interviewed George Wildman, who was the editor there towards the end of his life, and they interviewed John Byrne, they interviewed Bob Layton, Denny O'Neil before he passed. They interviewed a lot of the creators that worked at Charlton, and I've actually, like, anytime I've gotten a chance to meet somebody that worked at Charlton, I've always taken that opportunity to talk to them about it. Like, was it Bob Layton? Oh, Vince, terrific! Thanks so much for grabbing that. Thanks for picking it up from Douglas. He's a very nice guy. That was a great piece that you did, and I love the gag with the monster pointing at the other person. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I'm working on issue 2, trying to get it done by the end of the year. And then I've got big plans for the Fat Cat projects for next year. Not waiting around anymore. Um, and I even actually have been messing around with some little animatics. So we'll see if I'm able to actually make anything interesting. I have the Animator Survival Guide from Richard Williams. It's been on my shelf for years. And I've got the software, so I'm going to do just a quick little pencil test on some stuff. See how it looks. You're an animator, Andrew. I'll send it your way. You can send me some notes. My buddy Alex Cormack and Nate Lovett, they both were animators and went to school for animation. They both inevitably ended up in comics and commercial art, but they know their stuff. But yeah, when I'm just designing characters for fun, I'll go in and try to develop a story as I'm going along, and hopefully my hair isn't going into the camera. I noticed when I looked back at the last video, I was on camera far too much. I should never be on camera. Although my wife and other folks say I should be on camera more. Hey, Allison, thanks for popping in. Good to see you. Hope you're feeling better, or at least are comfortable. We did a little perspective drawing lesson earlier. You can tell me how I did, if I explain things at all well. Like I said, I wanted this character to be a little older. And then I'll just grab my brush pen. Oh, thank you very much. Once I figure out how to get guests on here, we'll have to have you drawn on here too. I know there's a way to do it, I just am not there yet. I haven't figured it out. I actually think Jay's gonna just come down to my place. It's hard, I'm always working on mine. I screw it up plenty of times. If I mumble a little bit, it's because I had some dental work done today, so forgive any worse mumbling than usual. This Bristol is like super smooth, so I can actually see the ink, how wet it is as it comes off the brush. So let's give him a big ear. Yeah, I know you're a tech whiz, far beyond my meager capabilities. So maybe, yeah, I use Restream, so I don't know. I know that a lot of folks use other software. I just need to find out if I have to have the other person create a Restream login and go through that way, or if they can like join in from something else. I'm assuming they have to it's free, so it's not like they'd be signing up for and paying for anything. But yeah, my buddy Eli has been asking me about it. Oh, okay, just with a link. I'll have to find out how to make the link then. Yeah, because it's just through the browser. That's why I use it. Okay, cool. Then you are the expert I've been searching for. Hey, if we can get it to work, you can be the first guest if you like. This guy's not quite as old as I had originally intended. He's a little younger. He's got a little fuzz here, got a nice little beard. I dig his hat. My brother sent me a nice baseball hat for my birthday. And this right here, this is actually the best way that I could recommend practicing. If you want to get better at inking with a brush, draw with a brush. I got just a rough structure, and then now I'm just doing the rest with the brush. And it just, when I go back, next Friday, 3 to 5, I might have to catch it on repeat because I'm usually working then, but if I can have it on in the background, I promise you I will. But yeah, I should be able to have it on. Yeah. Is it going to be on Facebook, on the YouTube? So you could feel free to throw any links up you want. There we go. That's a decent face. I think that looks okay. I've drawn far worse faces when I, didn't intend to. Okay, sweet. All right. Well, let's get him. Let's finish off his cool hat. Cool. Yeah, I follow you on Twitch, and I believe I follow you. I think we're whatever the term is for YouTube. I think I follow your channel. I know I because I think I've seen your stuff on Twitch. All right, well, there's like our guy, our first little character guy. Okay, so the other side of his hat will be over here. This kind of looks like my buddy Steve. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I don't know. I'll send it to him. Okay, Steve. I saw you on the screen. That makes sense. I know you're a big Raven fan, and you got that killer Finch Raven hanging on your wall. All right, well, let's do another one. What do we want to do this time? We got like just a person now. Let's do like a heavy guy. Got kind of like a bean-shaped head, but smooth out the edges because he's on the heavy side. Got a chin here. And the trick for these type of sketches, I don't get bogged down, is what I tell myself. Like I just don't want to, just want to get things moving, move. Don't get, and you see, you'll get these happy accidents all throughout, like these little chunky lines. I love these. I would love to be able to do a book just like this and not have to refine it. If I could take this throw some color on it, throw some gray tones on it, and go. I would just my productivity would just jump because I can just fly with this stuff. See this guy? Just a little smile, a little one-sided smile. Start doing my moves. I think I bought weed from that guy. uh, that's fantastic. Do books the Chaikin way. Yeah, I mean, Howard does like a quick gesture and then fills it in. And it's always in perspective. His perspective is usually perfect. Like, even if you don't like his finish, you could put a grid over any of it, and it's impeccable. I love Howard's work. I don't know. I guess I'm too precious about it still. That's probably a valid criticism of my work. Um, it's the estate of Bob Ross wants your location. Hey, if the Ross estate would like to talk about bringing the joy of comic book drawing to networks, I'm here for it. His was the joy of painting. I'll have the joy of doodling or something. I don't know. Give him some nice hair, nice flowy hair. Cheekbone, cheekbone. See, this one's going to have a little more bend to it because you can see more of it. This one's a little straighter. Back of the skull, back of the head. Get a little bit there. Pull that in. When I am penciling a sketch, when do I decide to switch to ink? In this case, Vince, for these, I want to switch as soon as possible. I want to get the very, very basic information down. Like basically the proportions for the most part is what I want to get down. And, I don't want to go in doing these fine details because these are just sketches. This is really just to like get the idea down and then being able to look at it later. And I've saved so many sheets like this where I fill them in. Um, and when I fill them in, I just save them, and then when I need background characters or when I need, if I can remember someone like this guy, I could easily see him showing up in like a market or someplace in a Helena story for sure. And this, you just saw me come up with him. So um, in this exercise, I'm just going to ink as soon as possible, and I'm drawing larger than I normally draw, which is nice too because I'm getting old eyesight, all that jazz. And here, again, like this, what I'm doing right here is sort of an advanced technique, but it doesn't mean you can't try it and get better at it. Because I have so many crappy sketchbooks. Oh, thank you very much, Allison. I'll absolutely take you up on that at some point when in your schedule and my schedule. Trying to come up with something, and you never know, like, or at least I don't, because when I sit down to write, if I'm just writing, I have to be drawing too. Because what this is for me is also a writing exercise. I can't just stare at a computer screen and come up with what I need to come up with to make a story. Like, I can't. I don't have that skill in me. Um, like I did writing like that in college, and I wrote some prose and stuff afterwards. But for me, it's still not, it just was never natural. So like, this is me coming up with people who, I'm thinking about what do they like to do? What do they like to eat? What are they doing on Thanksgiving? And if I want to turn it into a lighting exercise, I'll show you how I do that real quick. I mean, that's one of the easiest things to switch to. Right here, this is really these are really there's some ugly lines in here, but there's also some really nice little surprise lines that I like. I find also that these types of drawings, I generally find that they're not as popular as the tighter, more refined stuff. I find that people really it doesn't resonate as much. At least when I do them. I mean, maybe there are people out there who, because there are people who have like a fake loose looking style. Like if you were to look at like a Sean Gordon Murphy. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it looks so loose." He knows exactly what he's doing, and it's actually a lot tighter than you think it is. It's got a loose finish when he comes in with the ink, so that it has that energy. But the drawings themselves are tight. It's how tight do you say to the pencils when you switch to ink? For this, I'll make big changes. Like if I want to, I'll show you in a minute here. If I was sitting down, like if you want me to do, for comparison's sake, like what I would call like a head sketch, I'll show you more like what gets planned there. Wanted to give this guy nice hair for some reason. Got a smudge, but again, trying not to be too precious about it. All right. Well, let's say that we're gonna have turn this. Well, let's finish his nice hair. See that nice brush line we can get like that. We can add some volume. All right, so let's say I wanted to turn this into a lighting exercise, and let's pick a light source. Let's say our light's going to come. Let's say it comes from, for the sake of continuity, up over here. Let's say the light's right here. So when the light's coming down, you're going to identify your planes, and how we do that is the topography of the skull. And if the light's over here, these are the places where the light is going to affect it the most. So what we can then do is know that these have to remain light, but like over here, Oh, yeah, there's a real quick shading exercise, just really quick. I actually think that we can connect this here, come down like this, underneath like that. So we can just keep going even further. Because I'll show you, I'll take reference pictures for lighting. I'll show you a reference photo that I use for lighting. And this is one of the good things about these phones we carry around is that you can take a picture. That's like a regular picture, like a selfie. But then when you mess with the contrast, you can see all the shading. You can go from like a mediocre, this is what it looks like in grayscale. But then when you crank up the contrast, you get that nice dark, you can see everything. Oh, come on, Allison. You've seen plenty of drawings I've done that are not so hot, so we can practice, lots and lots of practice. And I know you draw all the time, so and your stuff has gotten better. It's a learned skill. Everybody who wants to draw, and I firmly believe this, can draw. It just takes people like there's a certain people get different amounts of talent. It's true. I think the only thing that affects is um, new Instagram profile pic. Should I make that should I post that picture? I don't like posting pictures of myself. So like I was just getting like reference. I wanted a strong light source so I could see where the highlights were and then where the face just completely disappears into the shadow, you know. The talent and stuff just affects how long it takes you to learn things, I think. Um, you wanted to see Iron Fist? I always thought of him as having a longer hit. I think of like the Kerry Gamble Iron Fist. Power Man and Iron Fist was one of those books that I just loved as a kid because it was in the dollar bins. Any book that was in the dollar bins when I was a kid that was at all decent or had decent artwork became like one of my must-have books. Oh, I think I saw you post that. Yeah, yeah, that was super cool. I don't, I that's a book that I definitely do not have because I'm a dollar bin junkie. What can I say? Let me just pull up a reference just to make sure I get the mask. Carrie Gamble Iron Fist. Why did it change my search? It's because I have stupid fingers. There you go. There's a classic Carrie Gamble Iron Fist. See, I messed it up. Couldn't remember how the eyes went. I don't think he always drew it like that. Yeah, there we go. There's a classic Power Man and Iron Fist. Carrie Gamble. Look at that. I still messed it up, but maybe one day we'll do one of these exercises where I just have you guys just shout out the characters and I'll just draw them all on one piece of paper real fast. It could be fun. That would be definitely a challenge for me. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't think we can do this 2 weeks in a row because I think I'll just bore people to death, but, I don't know, maybe that is a different one. One thing I would say that I see as a common mistake lately is if in my own work, and, I saw it in some new comics I was reading, people drawing these, necks that were just kind of, like, too small. Necks were too small. People have, there's more volume to the neck than I think people realize. It's tricky. It's a shifty thing to draw. Alright, well, let's, he's got the long. What would we call that? What would we call that? Like the, I don't know. We need a clever name for the I draw stuff characters as fast as I can, and you guys suggest them. I feel like that could catch on if we had a catchy name for it. I'll let you guys come up with that one. We'll give it through, Thanksgiving. If somebody has a great name for it, whether in their Thanksgiving food coma at the end of the day, feel free to just throw it on here. Speed doodles, Ian making the pictures. Speed something. I don't know. Maybe something like knockout, something like that. I don't know. Or we could treat it like a game of horse, like shooting hoops, where if I mess it up, I get a letter. Make a game out of it. Knockouts, lightning round. We're workshopping this. We're workshopping it. We're gonna come up with something good, and then people are gonna be like, "Hey, I was there the day that we as a group birthed this idea." What's what they call it now in like the original art market? A birth page where the character shows up, the first appearance. Carrie gave him a pretty distinct Adam's apple. That's a nice touch that I don't remember. Oops, pulled up the wrong thing. Okay, it doesn't. I was right. Like his ears don't come out of his hat. I'm sorry, his cowl. Superhero talk right here. It's not a hat, right? It's not a hat. He's got blonde hair, so we want to have fewer lines. There you go. There's a quick iron fist. The best title blue was Vince Peeper is awesome, and you will watch it. Cool guy draw neat stuff. And it is just great, Mark. It rolls off the tongue, Vince. It's someone should be paying you lots of money for your marketing prowess. Yeah, there's a little iron fist. Somebody else have a character they want to see? We got 50 more minutes to fill, and I got this much paper to fill. So you're either going to see me making it up as I go along, or I can draw, funny characters. No likenesses. That's the one thing. I'd draw you a Sarge Steele. Like Sarge Steele was the kick-ass detective from Charlton Comics, which is like Columbo but with a metal fist to smash things. Um, Sarge Steele is awesome. If you have not checked out Sarge Steele, let me see if there's a picture of him here in that book I have. If I can find the book. Luke Cage. We can do Luke Cage. Yeah, Sarge Steele rules. Like I don't know why DC doesn't do anything with him because he's like, we need let's do Columbo stories. There he is. I just saw him. He's just he's a private eye with a metal fist. All right, we'll do a Sarge Steele, and then what we got Gru or Usagi. I love Gru, but I just don't know if I can get the character down. But we'll do a Sarge Steele because now the trickiest part about Sarge Steele is the hat. Drawing a hat that looks believable and good is a difficult task. The world should have had a. Is there any comics based around an investigative journalist? I honestly don't know. I would imagine Spider-Man would be the answer that most people want to give you, but I figure he's a crummy journalist. Clark Kent, you know. But I don't know how much journalisting he is doing. Love Kolchak. Kolchak the Night Stalker is great. One of the tricks with a hat, a formal men's hat, it has to fit on the skull. And I know that that shouldn't sound like a trick, but I can't tell you how many hats I've seen drawn over the years where like their face gets squished into the hat. Drawing like this is fun. Every private detective needs an ill-fitting shirt and tie. And you only know it's Sarge Steele if you can see the fist. Because otherwise it's just dude in a hat. See, I actually at one time, I've debated starting like these sketchbooks. I've drawn in sketchbooks for people for years, but I've never done one for myself. I considered doing one where it was a pick any Charlton character. I also thought about doing one that was, pick any Robert E. Howard or okay, brim's too big. Wrong. I drew the wrong type of hat. See, got ahead of myself. I just got into Columbo like 2 weeks ago and it's so damn good. And the way some of the episodes just end without fanfare is so neat. I did draw the question hat. You are completely correct. Drew the wrong hat. Wrong Charlton character. Here I am just rambling about Charlton characters, just drawing the wrong damn one. But yeah, I mean, if DC Comics had done anything with Sarge Steele, like maybe maybe Darwin Cook does Sarge Steele instead of Parker graphic novels because he was working at DC, you know. He's got kind of like a ball at the end of his nose. Gotta give him that tough guy jaw. See, drawing a hat just takes more work. To draw the front of the hat, make sure that it lines up correctly. We're getting there. It's getting close. It's not going to be perfect, but just has to be identifiable. Maintain the ill-fitting tie. And the old Sarge Steels were drawn by, for the most part, an artist that most people know as an inker, by Dick Giordano. Um, he inked like the Neil Adams Batman stuff for the most part, except for the stuff that Neil inked himself. He did not ink the Dead Man stuff. What was the name of the artist that did the Dead Man stuff? I can't remember his name. The guy that inked Neil Adams, especially on those earlier ones. Hey, remember the earlier lesson on the hands in perspective? This is one of my really easy ones because you draw them overlapping and they go at an angle, and we don't have to like. And with Sarge Steele, if you look at his hand, I don't have the picture, but his hand is the segments, those tubes and cubes I'm talking about. You can't really see it so well, but you can see like each of those segments that we drew are part of that metal hand. One of the little tricks that I like to tell people to use, and this is just, if you line up the knuckles straight, they look awkward. Okay, they have to be at an angle. So you draw them either bent like this, or you can chunk them, like what I did here. There's 3 that are kind of at an angle, and then you push the top finger up a little bit. It just makes the hand look a little more dynamic if you pop that finger just a little bit. All right. He does have a Luger, yes. Although I would say throughout the series, like that's inconsistent. Like he has different weapons at different times and different. And by and large, the Sarge Seal stories were backup stories. I think the last ones were in, strangely enough, issues of Judo Master. Just make sure I get his nose right. He's got a straight nose. He actually does not have a broken nose. You'd think that, with a private eye with no superpowers, he would have a broken nose, but he's got nice hair, and he's got. I guess he was in a Wonder Woman at some point. That's a much newer drawing of him. But yeah, Detective. There's a great Dick Giordano drawing. You're right, yeah, Allison. It literally is construction. It's like. Oh, he's got a cleft chin too. See, I'm glad I looked that up. See, when I start to slow down, sometimes the lines get a little stiffer. Yeah, I messed up the head a little bit, but hey, doing it on the fly. The oddest one, there's all kinds of weird ones from over the years. The most challenging for me at a convention is always anything that's like robots that aren't more organic looking. Anytime anybody asks for, I don't know, let's say someone in the audience would be aware of requesting a transformer of some kind. Um, those are always difficult for me. Because as you can see, I don't have a steady hand, and I don't draw straight lines all that well. Um, I actually have a ROM Space Knight sketch cover that I have floating around in my studio that I'm going to be doing at some point in the not too distant future. I actually do okay with ROM because if you look at the run on ROM, there were other artists like myself that also didn't like drawing straight lines or robots. So they had a Jonathan. No, no, no. Would it be Jonathan? Would it be? Yes, yes. The biggest Transformers fan that I know. I'm gonna surprise you one of these days. I'm gonna break out the ruler and just spend a day working on one Autobot that takes Casey Collar like 20 minutes to draw. It's still not going to be as good as this, but it will be better than the ones that I did at conventions for you in the past. And I'll just trade it for one of my old ones that I did for you. All right. Well, there's a quick Sarge Steel. This metal hand of some cartoony shorthand there. I could take a stab at. Someone said either Gru or Usagi Yojimbo. I don't remember which one it was, but. Have I drawn a Voodoo Joe? I've actually never drawn any of any of Douglas's characters, because I don't know, like they're very much his characters, and if he ever wanted me to, I would absolutely do it. But Jesus, I'll take a stab at Gru. Why not? Might as well. I'll take a stab at it. Why not? I don't think Sergio's going to see this, so he won't be too offended. Hey, my pleasure, Andrew. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good turkey day. You come up with a good name for the knockout or the lightning round, or shoot it my way. Ah, likewise, Desiree. Well, there's a quick Gru. There's a attempt at destroying an icon and a legacy of one of the world's greatest cartoonists with one fell swoop, one silly drawing. I do think if I had time to like sit down and work out the shapes, I would come up with something different. No more lines. It'll just get sillier looking if I keep adding lines. It was a quick attempt at a Gru, Desiree. It was a request from the crowd, and we're working on coming up with a concept for a future show where it's like, you know, everybody just, instead of doing the makeup characters as I go on a sheet like this, I would draw characters that people would like to see me draw, you know, fairly quickly. But like, you know, you'd get to say it and you'd see it happen, whether it's like knockout or lightning round, or lightning round seems to be in the lead from what people want to see. But yeah, it'll look better if you, because Gru is a simple design. If you erase the pencils, it'll probably look better. There you go. Simplified. There we go. Oh, a long shot. You want the beautiful blonde mullet? Mullet and the bird bones. You know, have a hard time drawing the bird bones, but of course, like every time I see him in my head, you know, it's the Arthur Adams version. But I remember you know, remember the first appearances as they came out, like with Mojo and all those characters, and the miniseries, and there's all kinds of hype around that character, but I just felt like we just stopped using. Or like if they had him show up, it would just be like a cameo appearance or whatever. Although the lightning round does go off of what all the editors tell you. Only put finished work online. Forgot what his yeah, he has like the high collar. That's right. He has the popped leather collar, bird bones, and the glowy eye. Yeah, like he was hyped. He was one of those like this is the future of the X-Men. He's going to be one of the major players, and then they were like, ah, never mind. I gotta wonder how that went down, because if it was like because Claremont would hang on to his characters that he liked, well past their expiration date. I would believe that. I would. It's been a while since I've read some of that stuff, so I don't remember it. Yeah, the miniseries was fun. That was Art Adams and the lady who wrote Daredevil, right? What was her name? Ann Nesenti, I think. I think she wrote that series. Heck, maybe even she came up with the character. I like some of her writing for sure. Yeah, yeah. I can't say I've read anything other than like the Long Shot and then the Daredevil stuff. What else did she write? I can tell I'm getting tired because I'm starting to revert to some of my just like visual trope tricks that get me through a picture that I'm not sure about. We all have our crutches. Yeah, I'll have to look up what else she wrote. And it's funny because like Daredevil was never one of my like must-read characters. I read the Miller and the Mazzucchelli and some of the Lee Weeks stuff, but that was I mostly follow the artists, I admit. Okay, yeah, I'll have to check it out. I read a fair amount of Doctor Strange, so maybe I read her Doctor Strange. I don't know. I did not read much in the way of the Star Wars comics. And honestly, I was always hit or miss on the Avengers, so I very easily could have missed her time on the Avengers. All right, well, I think we've filled enough paper and we've filled enough uh, time. There's our character sheet. There's our perspective lesson from earlier, and then there's our drawing hands and faces in perspective, and then simplifying. So we covered a lot of ground tonight, and next week we'll do something new. And hey, Mika, happy Thanksgiving! Hope you have a lovely holiday. Probably I think I saw you're on the island, so enjoy the sea air, and one of my favorite places in the world. Vince, in answer to your question, I use pen and ink. I've done digital too. Sometimes a job requires it. And the pro for digital is that it is faster. The con is that they still haven't nailed the happy accidents, I'll call it, and then the nuance of pen and ink. Like all these lines that you see here, like even if you turn the settings all the way down and the sensitivity all the way up, you can't get this. You can't get these jagged lines and like this stuff. And there is, when you stare at the screen long enough, you see the patterns. At least I can. And they drive me nuts. Like I'll be like, oh, it's going to do this, so I have to be prepared for that. And there's all kinds of stuff that. See, and I'll just keep noodling, trying to figure out a way to make it work. Just put some shadow on this guy. But anyway, I hope you all have a great holiday. And yeah, I hope I answered some questions. And thanks for hanging out with me. And let's do it again next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. live drawing. And yeah, we're gonna add the lightning round or whatever we go by to our repertoire. And maybe we'll come up with a schedule for it, like the first stream of the month or something. Like the first stream of the month is lightning round. Yep, I'll catch you guys later. And guys, gals, and good night and happy Thanksgiving.